welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I am your host once again for episode number 350. This week I am joined by three great guys and a girl. First and foremost, Brent Talenasti is here.
Hello.
Welcome, Brent. Welcome back to the podcast. Punchinello is
Good
here.
to be back.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, Punch. And Mitch, the Iceman cereal box, is here live on stream, chugging an ice, flicking everybody off, as he was owed an ice from earlier. I guess he got back about 1 in the morning and had to drink it. He is still chugging.
We can't see what that was.
It is taking him a really long time to chug.
It was orange.
An orange
Jesus,
ice.
what a pussy.
Man, that took you a long time.
It tastes, okay, it's a screwdriver flavored one, and it tastes like there's vodka in there, which I wouldn't be surprised if there was, and that was disgusting. Oh.
Isn't a screwdriver supposed to have vodka in it?
Well, no, but like
Yeah,
the
but it's probably a malt
ice is
beverage.
like, it shouldn't taste like vodka.
And back
Is it
at
like the really cheap vodka? Like the one that tastes like plastic?
No, I imagine that Smirnoff bought Burnett's, like didn't even use their own brand of vodka to make this drink. That's what I think just happened.
And back to the podcasting scene is Jennifer Days Untold. Welcome back, Days.
Hey, thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
excited to be back.
Hooray.
If you guys are a Patreon subscriber, you will hear Days in the Champion Select podcast from going forward. She was on it previously. Then she took a small sabbatical thanks to the pregnancy. Days, how is the baby? I can't remember his name. I apologize.
He's doing good. Neil. He's
Neil,
doing
that's
great.
it.
Yeah, I'm planning on being pregnant soon, so I'm going to be taking a similar sabbatical. So
You're not allowed to.
no, I'm gonna be pretty pregnant soon.
Pregnant with
That
it.
was
Wait,
Smirnoff ice babies.
You're going to have a couple more of those ices, you'll look pregnant, so.
A food baby. That's what.
The first one was for my roommates. This one's for you.
We figured the first one was for us too, so we'll take it.
Yeah, kind of did.
We'll take all of your Wait.
Whoa!
What?
All right,
Great
then.
start. This is the episode where we don't know what we're talking about.
We have a list. Punch came up with a great list of different ideas of things we can talk about. Hopefully, first and
I don't know if
foremost,
it was great.
hopefully we see you guys in a couple weeks at PAX. We will be there, loud and proud, running around, manning the booth, taking care of everything. Guys, you can come find us. If you download the PAX app and you don't see our number on there, we're there. I promise we're there. It's getting updated. That was like the first draft of it. Don't ask questions. PAX. If you've never read the horror stories of working with PAX, there are some out there. Go Google it. You'll read it. Sometimes they just don't work as well. But we're getting it taken care of, and we'll be there. And your money will be going toward us, making sure that we get all the everything taken care of for you. I don't want to besmirch PAX. That's the right word for it, right? I don't want to talk ill of them.
Good word.
Yeah. Just saying that sometimes they can be difficult to work with, but I can understand it because we are small in comparison. Like you look at EA selling millions of copies of games, and then there's us.
I thought you were going to say that you could understand difficult to work with because you're so difficult to work with.
But I'm
I'm
really
pretty
not.
sure people like us more than EA.
That-
though.
First episode back, shots fired.
That would have been such a good self-referential burn. That would have been amazing. Come on.
I expected more of you.
I think
Word.
I think
this,
too
this high
highly.
five is for Days. So,
God damn it! Will you stop with the flicking and the high fiving? And
I at least said it this time.
This is great
Everyone
podcast
is
material.
this thing tonight? Is that what we're doing? That's for you, buddy.
Such great audio.
Yeah.
We got it taken care of. We are a professional podcasting network. Excuse
Oh.
me. Over here at the Trinity Force
No.
Network, as we start the show by drinking and talking. You know what? You know what we don't support here at the Trinity Force Network is the removal of cigars, pipes, and alcohol.
Right.
Oh my God. They can't.
Travesty.
is that really going through that they're removing the wine from like Gragas? Or sorry,
When will it stop?
Cho'Gath?
Yeah, well, you have a champion who gets drunk in the game. Like,
Yeah.
Like his
He's
entire
doing that.
His entire character.
No,
They're gonna
yeah,
remove
that's-
his beard.
How do you
even
take that away?
His entire character and his like background lore is that he would drink all the time at the bar with Jax. Like,
Yeah, but we don't care about lore anymore. Remember, like League just said
That's
"fuck lore"
all-
and then
fuck
just
background.
left.
Tomorrow's
No,
gonna be grape juice. Barrel
what
of
I-
grape juice.
I really want to hear like going from a super drunk voice. I know they probably won't do this, but like to an incredibly sober voice would be hilarious to hear that change. Like a very
Oh, they have-
straight edged Gragas.
you haven't seen? You've never seen that concept art? Got his life together, Gragas. If you guys are new to this game and haven't seen that, go Google "got his life together" Gragas. He joined a bowling league. It's hilarious.
I really feel like you could. I don't know any of his quotes right offhand, but like any of those just like non-slurred and just.
What
I
if
don't
you're
even know,
buying? I'm
stand up,
in.
maybe?
the only
Yeah.
time I had a drinking problem was when I drank way too much and was irresponsible.
He sounds like a reformed alcoholic.
Because no,
He
man,
has-
no one says,
Oh
only
my
time I
god!
had
No!
problems
It's
with it.
reformed alcoholic Gragas. He rolls like his AA chip instead, and
Oh,
it explodes instead of barrels. Now
He starts reciting the steps.
Smacks you with the car keys because he's the designated driver. If you're buying, I'm driving.
All right.
Oh my gosh! This needs
Wait,
to happen.
so what is he referring to? If you're buying, I'm in. If he's not drinking alcohol
drinking.
anymore.
Well, no, that's what you change it. That's perfect.
Yes,
But if they take away his alcohol now, like what is he referring to at that point?
iced
guess
tea or lunch. Like you go and have lunch together. A business meeting without alcohol. It still doesn't work.
Also, Oktoberfest Gragas doesn't really work so well if you take that away. Kind of just
Yeah.
Here's a barrel of sausage.
eats a pretzel.
Yeah, there you go.
That guy, not a foul alcoholic.
All right, so way to
Stop,
derail.
guys.
10 minutes. We made it to 10 minutes, guys, without doing anything important.
Well, this today, as of the 6th of April of 2016, they released some mid-season updates, or rather, what they want to do, what they are looking forward to doing as we roll into mid-season. Because as you know, we're halfway through mid-season, right? So I don't know where you guys are at in your rank climb, but keep pushing that way. It feels like just
Man.
yesterday we started.
I didn't even think about that. I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah, I'm very
Just
behind.
just a smidge. That I haven't finished my placements yet.
Wait,
But
you
I'll
have
get there.
No, he's too busy playing Stardew Valley and playing on
Hey.
a Smurf.
I still got to upgrade my coupe to the deluxe. And then I got to do the final upgrade to my house. And
Have you
actually,
gotten the
I might
giant
be it.
cauliflower
I'm pretty
yet?
close. Giant cauliflower.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Googling.
Didn't you get like a giant pumpkin?
I got a golden pumpkin.
Yeah, there's a
That's
way
what
to-
you're referring to.
No,
I went through the haunted maze and got the golden pumpkin.
No,
yeah.
no, you can farm and get like a giant version
Oh
of
my
the
god!
of it, and it's like huge
All right, there's no time for leak. I gotta get this giant pumpkin now.
cauliflower. It was like
Whatever.
I think it was cauliflower. It was like fabled. Like no one got it, and then some guy got it and posted it, and everyone on the Stardew Valley subreddit went nuts. And that was their claim to fame: a giant piece of cauliflower.
burst to cauliflower? Is it like a raid? Like you can claim first raids or first boss kills? I don't
First
play
giant cauliflower.
MMOs.
Let's talk about the mid-season update then. there's
Please,
no
God.
there's no cauliflower in the mid-season update.
You don't know that.
Okay, so
Yes.
all right, I'm going to kind of read what they write here, so we can talk about it. So because these guys may not remember what they have. So first and foremost, Riot starts this out with overall. However, we don't think. Oh wait, some key points. You didn't mark key.
You want me to
take
go through
it point by point, and we can discuss.
Yeah,
it.
Punch. You know what? You can lead tonight. I'm gonna play with my hair.
Okay, that sounds great. So Riot has kind of talked about what's gone on so far and what they expect to happen or what they expect to work on for the remainder of the season. The first thing that touched on was the champion updates, which is Shen and Tarek. Tarek is obviously new and not out yet, so we can't really talk too much about him. We can only look at his moves and say they're very shiny. Mitch is excited.
They're on PBE. There's already montages of him. He seems way cooler. I'm really excited for Tarek, and
Oh, I am too.
he added a lot of interesting. They're gonna nerf him, I think, from what they have live on PBE. But
Oh yeah.
And the
looks good.
reveal?
Oh, yeah.
the reveal video is a little misleading on a couple of his skills. Like, he's actually way cooler than the reveal video that they had.
Because of the plays you can set up with the marked
Because,
target?
so, for, like, his stun, which is now a line skill shot, they make it look like, kind of like a Xerath Q, where it just, you place it and that's where it goes. But it moves with you. So, like, you walk, and you can, you can follow people if they're trying to get out of it and things like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
If people had questions on his ultimate too, he's basically like an AoE Zanya's, except people can move and they can attack.
It's like an
it's
AoE
a
Kale ult. Yeah.
Yeah.
The question I had, does that also double with his whoever?
Yep.
Yes.
He puts
Everything
his thing,
does.
Absolutely.
including that. That seems like it would be really, really strong, but it looks like it has like a 2-second delay or a 1.5
2.5.
second delay.
2.5.
2.5.
Yep.
And it's
That's
also
long enough that
used
you
to carry
can't-
around him too. So they have to
Yeah.
stay close to him in order to keep that.
Oh,
buff
so
at.
if they leave that area, it immediately disappears.
Or the area of the linked target. I mean, we should cover all the abilities if we're going to cover some of them. I don't know if you wanted to talk all of Tarek tonight.
Why not?
I mean, his abilities are probably aren't going to change, but the only thing is some of the numbers. I
I think we might save Terry. I want to bring Skyan on for Terry again because I know he has a lot to say about the manly chest and everything else. So, if you haven't looked up Tarek yet, go just Google Tarek reveal or whatever you may want. You'll find it. I'm sure if you Google Tarek, it'll be one of the first links right there on the top. So,
The TODR would be his Q is a heal around him. His W is where he links to somebody, kind of like Kalista does, except it's a much shorter cooldown. He can cast it over and over again. And when he links
And he
with somebody, he
cast
gets him
all
a
of
shield.
his- Yeah, you can cast all of his spells from that link. So I thought of it almost as a
It's like
little bit.
Zeke's.
So-
it's like Zeke's a little bit.
With Q in mind, if he uses Q and he's linked to somebody, that heal area will also go around his linked target.
The Q area is about, like, if you've played with a Sona, it's about the radius of her shield. So you have to be pretty close to him. It's not very big.
Is it like
But-
almost like an Alistar E?
Yeah, about the same size. And then, but his other champion, like if you're linked, well, he's going to cover that in a sec. But then that person also expands it so that you get a decent area.
So if you're doing
For
it
a
right,
heal.
you could heal your front line and your back line at the same time.
Right, and you get double healed. So if you're casting it and your person's
double heal
near,
doesn't work. Does
Oh, they
double,
don't?
Double
Does it
healing
stack?
damage from no. There's no stack on. No, there's no. Everything of his can double the area, but if you get hit by it twice or you get healed by it twice, it doesn't stack. It just hits as though it was once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Important
And
distinction.
Dave's already
Cool.
talked about his E, which is the new Dazzle.
Stun.
Mind
That
skill
one's
shot
so
that
cool.
stuns.
That's got like, it looked like it had the second delay or something like that.
Yeah, 1 second. 1
It
second.
looks
delay.
like it'll be
Stun-
strong
stuns in a-
because it's AoE line shot, right?
It looks like Xerath's Xenopulse, like his Q, except if you just never charged it. And but you can move while that 1 second is going off, and it just stays in that same direction as
Oh, you can't
move.
change the direction.
You can't change the direction after you've started to cast it because it shows up to your enemies as well. But that's again, you can do the same kind of thing with like that shot. Kind of makes it look like a Lulu ult. If you, or sorry, Lulu Q when you've put the E onto somebody, so they're shooting at different angles, but at the same point that you would target it.
That's the thing I was thinking it was kind of like is the Lulu E then Q, but obviously I think it's for him it's going to be a W then E.
yeah.
Yep.
So you link to someone and then you could shoot it in two different directions. So you can crisscross it. So even though it has a like a reticle that's going to warn where it's going, it's going to be coming from two different directions. So it might be a little bit harder to dodge.
Yeah.
And
They
last,
kept
the ultimate was the AoE kill.
Right.
So we all
They-
talked about.
They also kept his, or I don't know if it was kept exactly, but his passive is now. I love that we said let's not talk about this, and then we talk about it. The
Well,
whole
you
thing.
guys just kind of keep going.
The passive is after every spell you get like the next two auto attacks are pretty quick, but they also do bonus damage based on level, based on bonus armor, and they reduce cooldowns by 1 second. So you can end up getting a bunch of really quick cooldown reduction.
It's pretty much what he has now. It's a little bit different,
Yeah.
but before it was
Yeah, he
after every
just-
spell, your next auto did bonus damage, and you got a cooldown for that one auto. But now I guess since you do two quick autos, maybe it's a little bit
Should be 2
faster and more
seconds.
unique. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to stack it up though. It's like it takes auto, double auto, if I remember correctly. I watched the video on it, so
Isn't it heal now? Like the longer you haven't used it, the more it does.
Yep, there's charges
Okay.
for that too. Yeah, you build up charges that you can expel all at once. I mean, they expel all at once. You don't get to like save them.
Yeah. I think they're trying to avoid the Alistar problem that they just got done patching.
It
Just
also
having it-
scales off of health, which is nice
Yep.
because now he scales off of both armor and health. So it's a little bit easier to manage your effective health in the when building him.
It seems really cool. I like that they're taking. Like, I know a lot of people are concerned that, like, oh, they're not releasing champions at the same speed as they used to. But now they're reworking champions that have just fallen out. Like Tarek is like hardly played unless you face you see all 5 AD champs, and
Right.
and then you remember that Tarek is in the game, because a lot of people
exists.
probably still wouldn't. And I like that they're like, this is a really good approach, I think, and I'm really excited to try him out.
I think he looks
Yeah,
too-
what usually
he's-
happens for me is I go, oh, I hope
that
that I play
swooning?
an all AD
No,
team.
it's- Yeah, pretty
And then
much.
I get into a game, and then I'm like, oh shit, it's an all AD team. I should have played Tarek.
Yeah.
That's my relationship with Tarek right now.
Well, let's talk about the rest of the mid-season updates since we've covered Tarek quite a bit. They go on to talk about Corky, Graves, and Quinn, how they're specifically very strong and they can play multitude of roles. And Riot likes that they can do that, but they are going to they're still going to continue to keep an eye on those 3 and others that are playing in multiple roles to make sure that they aren't dominating one over the other.
I guess the problem is that they're good picks regardless of the situation for all 3 roles. Supposedly for Graves. I'm still not convinced, people. I know Graves can play very well on top and jungle. And that's
fabled
supposedly
ADC
ADC, I don't
Graves.
know. But yeah, I mean, Corky is very good in mid and bot. Quinn is very good in wherever you want to take her. Mm-hmm. And there's really no ramifications for, just picking them and taking them where you want to go. You don't have to think about it. You'll have success either way.
Nice safe picks, which isn't
And
a
you can
which is a
also-
bad thing.
You can also tell a little bit when you read this about when this was written, because they talk about adjusting Corky, which they just did in the patch. So obviously this was written before the patch went out. But they also talk about that they want to touch on Graves, who I don't even think are his changes in the PBE yet. So on the one hand, you got changes that are already here, and on the other hand, you got changes that are still a ways out. Because I think I read today that somebody's looking at Graves' scripts, but they don't have anything for the PBE yet.
They're just trying to figure out how to balance Graves.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, to continue talking about marksmen and others, Riot does mention that they want to eventually open up bottom lane to be. Still, they like it as a duo. They like that it's a duo lane, but they want to open it up to more people that can be in the bottom lane together. With a support. So without making it
forcing a
Mordekaiser.
shoehorn on. Yeah, without shoehorning someone in like Mordekaiser. Like, all right, here's Mordekaiser. Here's somebody that builds an entirely different item set, and let's see what happens. I mean, I think they acknowledged he was an experiment, so can't really get mad at them. They're like, all right, we're going to see what happens if we put Mordekaiser in the bot lane, and it was a little too successful, and then when it stopped being successful, it fell off the face of the earth.
Right. I'm still
Eventually, they
upset
want
that-
to try that again, but maybe with somebody that makes more sense.
I'm still upset they didn't try this earlier with Poppy. Like, I was really hoping that, since they opened Mordekaiser up, they opened that floodgate, they were going to be like, all right, well, Poppy's, we're going to make her somebody that can go in the bottom lane. But then, again, if you do that, you have to start shoehorning champions, so they have to duo with somebody. I mean,
I think-
they're trying to work through it, but...
I think you could do it with somebody like Azir, he's a mage with consistent damage.
I
I
mean,
think Azir could work in that role.
the guy who did the 80 Jungle Malzahar Champions League podcast said that his second best character is Marksman Azir.
I actually played against one, and the poke is just overwhelming. Like, it's so difficult to play against.
Was it a bot lane Azir or was it an actual
Yeah.
AD Azir?
It was a bot lane Azir.
I
Yeah,
would
he wasn't
assume-
going AD.
Yeah, I
He
still
said
assume-
Marksman.
No, he was
Marksman
going,
would-
but he was going like attack speed. He was going like half
Yeah.
attack speed, half AP.
Okay.
Like more than a
Usually they-
normal Azir would build.
All right, so a little bit more than just the one national
Right.
team thrown
It
into
lo-
a regular build.
Right. It looks like he put a lot of time into developing. Like, it wasn't a cookie cutter build from like Mobify or something like that.
Who was
It
the
was just one cheese build from Mobifire.
who was the champion
Oh,
select guy you
maybe.
had on that did AD Malzahar bot? Wasn't that what it was?
just said that.
Well, I know.
No,
he
80
passed.
Jungle Malzahar was the guy who plays Azir Marksman.
Ah,
That was
that's
his
it.
second best champion as Aqua Dragon.
Marksman Azir. I'm surprised people are like, all right, let's go with that.
I mean, there's a
I
lot
mean-
of sustained damage or sustained DPS mages that could also fit that. But the problem always is that they also scale so well with levels that you want
Yeah.
them to have solo lane. Like Cassiopeia has a lot of sustained damage, but you know, we saw her just in a bunch of top lane when she didn't really fit the mid lane that super well. But you wanted her to be in the game or in your team.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to changes. I'm looking forward to seeing more champions come out in the bottom lane. We talked about kill
definitely.
lanes a little while back. So,
Do you think any of these new mages coming out would fit that mold? They mostly seem like burst mages, though.
I
know.
I don't
Punch
think
and
I don't think
want
you can
any of them there. We
I don't
want
think
kill
you can
lanes.
answer that though at all. I don't think you can answer if these champions go there because hand in hand with the Juggernaut rework, we saw the rework of a bunch of items as well. So we're getting the same thing. That's a good segue into this. So
It could happen. Yeah, it's just
yeah, Riot is talking about mid-season. They want to start working on mages. They've been touting that the next thing they're going to do is the mage rework. And right now, we'll be making moderate-sized changes to 6 mages: Vel'Koz, Zyra, Malzahar, Vladimir, Brand, and Cassiopeia. If you remember, Cassiopeia has already had a moderate change 2 patches ago. Yeah, 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
So they're looking at her again, and then a smaller changes to the number of others. Then they're still trying to lock down exactly which mages, but likely candidates are Veigar, Annie, Ziggs, Anivia, Xerath, Syndra, Fiddlesticks, with room for a few more. So we should see some sweeping changes across the board.
I think it's interesting that of the 6 main mages that they're focusing on, Vel'Koz, Zyra, and Brand have all found their way into bot lane, and Cassiopeia, Vlad, and even Malzahar at one point have all found their way top lane because they just don't fit well mid lane. They're just too easily countered or have their own issues.
They're all really immobile. Like
Except for
They
Vlad.
are. They are.
incredibly
And then
immobile ones.
and Vel'Koz and Zyra just have so much utility that you can only put so much damage on them before they become overbearing.
I think Zyra right now, and Dej, you were spamming Zyra for a long time. I've said this before. I do think that she's an underutilized pick in the bot lane for solo queue right now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the straight AP mages, any of those, even Brand and whatnot, still work really well in the bottom lane. If you can play, if you can play melee and the stuns, whatever you need to do, if you can do your job correctly, you're dominating bottom lane fairly well. They posted a while back that through feedback of players is how they were going to balance Zyra. So if you wanted to see Zyra in the bottom lane, you had to give feedback to say why we should balance Zyra for bot and not mid lane.
Right. Well, the nice thing about Zyra is that she offers a little bit more in terms of peel than Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz and Brand have a lot of CC, but they're even more largely damage based than Zyra is. Whereas Zyra, you can throw your ult down under your AD carry. It's a lot easier to hit your snare if you're standing right behind your AD. Like, you still have a lot of focus on your AD as opposed to Vel'Koz and Brand, where your main focus is on getting that damage down, kind of like Annie was before they kind of tuned her back into mid lane.
Yeah, the problem I've seen with that, I think, is the switch over to the more tanky meta, where when you're playing brand support or Vel'Koz support, where it ends up being more damage based. Like, you can try to build more utility on those kind of champions, but it's very difficult to, because you're just not getting enough utility out of the kit
in general.
But you end up trying to fight against really tanky front lines and have no way to get to a back line without taking a risky like flash Vel'Koz E and hope that hits and you blow somebody up. But they just don't work as well as the tankier supports that can throw down the CC and do what's working right now.
Right, and the fact that they don't offer, like, one of their main forms of peel is their damage, and if you have a Malphite coming at you, they don't care if you're a support brand. Like, you don't do anything to them. You can't build enough to be threatening to them. Like, it's a lot different when you have, like, a Lulu top coming at you or something where you can actually kind of burst down a little bit.
Or you have, like, at least the mid lane CS to be able to build enough damage to be relevant up to a point. You just end up losing that if you're the support player. Unless you somehow get, like, 2,000 gold off Spell Thieves.
I'm actually surprised Lulu isn't in this list of champions they're going to touch at all.
Not really a mage. I don't really consider her a mage. All those people have like a ton of damage, and she's way more utility.
She's not meant to be one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a supporty mage.
Well, she was supposed to be the first support, and then eventually she became a solo laner.
The first dedicated.
I feel like
Well,
So the opposite of these. So the
She
opposite
should
of
be
all
like the
way
first-
these ways went.
Yeah, like one of the first dedicated, not the first dedicated. She was like one of the first supports in a really long line of junglers and top and mid laners.
I think she's one of the first that they actually designed her as support.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
I remember hearing that about.
That was the
one of those
first. Yeah,
champions.
there wasn't a support release in a long time, and then they released her, and she was a Yordle and a support, so it was a big one for a lot of people.
Well, let's talk. So we'll have to look forward to that. I guess you can say you look forward to it. Some of you might not look forward to them. I know our buddy, what's his name, the Cinder player, the Diamond Cinder player, is probably not looking forward to the update. Yes, Shin.
I'll say he is.
Okay, so maybe he is then. Maybe
I'm
he
sure
likes
he's got some
changes.
input.
I'll take that face as.
Oh,
yes.
I know some of the things that are happening with her, and I'm scared of them.
Excellent. They go on to talk about Aurelion Sol, and this is an interesting stat for those of you that have wondered why Aurelion Sol might be being banned outside of they don't want to play it. And that's Aurelion Sol is finally out, and the initial reaction so far is that he's difficult to play. And we're seeing a lot of young dragons struggling on the Rift. So when you first pick him up, it's really hard to play him. I know we saw Talanasty the same way. It was like I was like watching him try to swim through mud. Seriously, watching
I had
watching
good early
you,
games. I just
watching
didn't know
you
how to
play that
transition in team
champion
fights.
and how to well, that's the thing. Like you could do great early, but how do you transition in team fights? How do you use your Q? How do you use your E properly? Like there was a lot of struggle bus.
I was also being forced to play him out of the jungle in my defense.
Forced.
What?
Yeah, I think I forced him to play him out of the jungle.
Have we seen the numbers on that? Like, I actually haven't checked what he's being played out of more.
Well, they say right now that once he gets a number of games under his belt, Aurelion Sol's success ramps up past almost any champion release thus far. So they're going to start. They started right here. Punch. This is for you. We're shaving some power early, then we'll assess again thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we were looking for when we discussed the patch. It's like we didn't really understand why he was getting these nerfs, and like I wish they actually put. And maybe they did put this in there, and I just didn't read it, but they did.
Yeah.
Say,
No.
here that he's got a
Holy
huge success for a higher play rate.
Yeah. So looking at Champion GG, first of all, it's 56% middle, 25% jungle, 13%
Win
top.
rate?
Win rate? Yeah, no,
play rate.
that's play rate. But then the win rate goes from 50% at like 1 to 5 games, 56% 5 to 15 games,
Pretty good.
58% for 15 to 50 games. And obviously
Wow.
there's not really data for 50 to 125 and 125 plus cuz duh. But that's kind of that's a giant like leap of experience, which makes sense for something that requires a lot of positioning to pull off successfully that no other champion has kind of shown so far.
So there we go. That we got
So perhaps the nerfs were justified.
Yeah.
I guess so. So interesting changes also coming in here is that they are going to be reworking AP items. So we have that to look forward to as well. If you haven't noticed, some of those mana heavy APs have not been played for quite a while because a lot of the items aren't favoring them, and they're going to be looking into adjusting that so that we could what they say, we're with a focus on better meeting CDR for mages and making mana components and items more functional by themselves.
So Oriana,
Ziggs,
Nivea.
Zareth.
I'm trying to think of what items really even have mana on them anymore that a mage
Themes,
support would build.
Morellos.
Would be, but like a flat mana. Maybe Athene's too, but hardly anyone buys that. But like flat mana, like you
Zeke's.
have Roa. I guess Zeke's if you're buying that as a mid laner.
Darksteel?
You're not.
Darksteel doesn't have flat mana.
It does, doesn't it?
Flat mana, not mana regen.
Tier.
It's got 100 flat mana.
Does it? It doesn't. It's not showing up on this list.
That's why Singe builds it in like top lane. But I mean, sometimes you see supports go it so they could like Nami, so they could just get the ability power from getting assists all day or something like that.
Yeah. Whoops.
So we've got that coming for us.
But I mean,
They're gonna be
that's
focusing
yeah,
on.
Back can we go back to Aurelion Sol real quick? I was looking something up.
Yeah.
But sorry. I was typing and looking something up, so I didn't want to talk out of hand. But if you look at like Thresh and Zed in terms of like their win rate, they're both incredibly complicated characters, and they also, like, for the first 50 games played, have incredibly subpar win rates and then go way up high. So they don't want the people with a really high skill ceilings to also have a really high skill floor. I mean, like a really easy skill floor that you could just win right out the bat with. Like that should be someone that you dedicate time to learning. Sorry, I just wanted to look up Zed and Thresh real quick to see if
Those are good
their
comparisons.
win rate
Yeah, it's a good comparison.
reflected the same thing.
I like that. Let's talk about as we continue, because we have a few more pieces to touch before we get into some more league discussion. Because I want to talk about Tank Ekko top and Iceborne Gauntlet too on this podcast to kind of round it out. So something else we have to look forward to talk about is Devour and Rageblade. They're going to try to tune those again.
Again, yes. Can't wait.
The words they use, both of which created some balance and game health issues with their current designs. No shit, Riot.
Yeah.
Clip that for
the
me.
item's good.
Lancifer.
Anybody that buys it is also good.
I want that no shit Riot, so I can just put that in MP3 when they make a change. Oh, you thought that was bad? No shit. Like, all right. I'm not gonna stand on the soapbox and Devour. Everybody gets it. Like Devour, it's hard to balance and make work properly, giving somebody such a large power spike for farming.
I think
What does it sound
Please
like?
Rage.
don't at group while we are in the chat, Cereal Box.
I didn't do that.
I think Rageblade is a bigger issue because right now there's a bunch of huge Kale nerfs in the work, and obviously they're nerfing Yi a bunch too, and it's all mostly because of Rageblade. It's that item is just way too cost efficient on the champions that can use it, and they're gonna do their normal thing. I think at least a lot of people are afraid of that they're gonna nerf those champions over and over again. Find that isn't enough. Nerf those items finally, and then leave those champions in like the dumpster.
See, that's why I want Riot to focus more on some of the masteries rather than champions and the items, because I know, right? Like, yes, but like wind speakers right now, for example. Soraka is really good, and the changes were warranted for what they did, but they need to nerf the shit out of wind speakers, and not necessarily the shit out of it. They just need to tune it or adjust a little bit, because wind speakers is making a lot of those Janna and Alistar and Soraka really fucking good out of the bottom lane.
I disagree.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to mention what Dom said earlier today. He said he was looking at the top support win rates right now, which is Soraka, Janna, Taric, Sona, and Nami. And the reasoning behind that is wind speakers.
Mm-hmm. And it almost makes getting a locket like pretty much a first item, because you get that extra on the shield as well.
I wonder what part would you nerf? The armor and magic resist, or the heal shields buff? Like the 10% on that.
Even how long
I think the armor and magic resist. Probably.
Yeah.
And maybe drop that to 2 seconds, maybe instead of 3.
Make it so it can't be reapplied within a few seconds, because that's the problem. Like Soraka W's, and it just keeps reapplying and staying on that, that type of thing.
That was the thing I thought might be an issue when they first made that change. It's just the duration of wind speakers might be OP.
Right. And I mean, in the past, like when Soraka had, before her rework, one of the things that they changed was her giving armor in addition to the heal. So that might be something they touch. But think about that on Taric now, like the new Taric, with the amount of AoE that he's going to have with 2 people healing.
Oh, yeah, good point.
That might be good, but do we know the cooldown of that one? He might be able to hit the whole team with it once, but I don't think that's going to be that was never an ability he could spam usually. I think it was on a 16-second, 15-second cooldown previously.
It's still
Maybe
what
he'll
you'd
get
probably go on him, though. Like, I'm trying to think of what you go instead.
I just don't think it's going to be as
baby.
abusable.
Right, but right now, like his AoE is going to be pretty small, except for now that he can link with somebody else. He's going to be able to hit almost the entire team with that.
Mm-hmm. Whereas before, it's definitely going to be better on him before he could heal.
Yeah, before he can only do 2 people.
Yeah, and he got himself.
Right.
Oh, is that what Tarics are tending to go if they're played out of the bot lane right now, wind speakers, or is it one of those tanky
Bond
ones?
to Stone.
Probably
with
Bond.
him.
I would assume Bond. Just because
he's
I
got
don't know
much
I don't know
fucking
what
armor.
else.
Yeah, it looks like it
Yeah.
looks like the highest win rate is actually wind speakers, but the most frequent is actually Bond.
Which is it's like 180 games and 370. That's how much he's being played, guys. It's not at all.
He's not being
Not
played
very
at
high.
all.
1.9% play rate. Holy
You know, he's so effective against one particular team that it's gonna like skew his percentages a little bit when that's all he's played against.
Does Thunderlords appear on that, or Grasp? I would think Grasp, not Thunderlords. Does Grasp appear on that? Because I know there are a few niche people that play him out of the top lane and just dominate face.
That would be out of a different. We're looking just under support right
They
now.
would be Grasp. I mean, you would run Grasp in that sense. You don't deal
that
enough.
fell off a little bit too when they changed some of his. There was one nerf they did to him where he was played significantly more out of the top lane.
Oh no, it fell off. But
right
there's some people that are playing him right now out of top lane in the tank meta and doing really well because of how much armor he gains, and he does a lot of burst damage with his passive.
It's not coming up on.
But it's not like one of those where it's like top tank Ekko where he's just really fucking good. It's people making it work.
Those niche people
would be really good with Iceburn Gauntlet and Sunfire, like we were talking about.
Oh, he totally would be. Yeah,
because he hyper scales off like mana and armor.
Let's talk about the last piece here, and that's Riot's going to look at turret diving because they believe it's too safe for aggressors right now. So they are experimenting with having turret damage to champions ramp up harder on subsequent shots. And if you didn't already know that, they were
that combined with the reduced death timers, which means more anti-snowball.
Yep.
Hooray! Which I don't know.
Is that more anti-snowball? Or is that
it's not
more
very exciting.
Laning?
It's not very exciting because I feel like the game timers are actually pretty good right now. So
yeah, I don't like
games get
Snowball,
longer.
Honestly,
I don't think
the
it's.
thing
Like,
that... Oh, go ahead.
just real quick, I don't think it's like passive laning because if you were playing aggressive laning, you weren't getting tower dove. Like you were, like if anything, a jungler might show up and you'd have a fight like in the middle of the lane. But I think that's more worried about that mid game that Punch is talking about, where you would be able to tower dive as like 5 people versus 4 or at X number versus X and do it easily enough. And then that mid game like 50-second death timer just blows the game out real quick.
Plenty of times where it just has been worth it to protect the tower because they're going to tower dive and.
Right. By the way, mark it. This episode right now. This is common knowledge, but I guarantee the moment something hits the PvE, because they're already talking about changing turrets to be resistant to damage early on, more resistant to damage, not completely resistant. That Monty will be the first person to be out on Twitter bitching about this and how it's removing pro play strategy and 2v1s is fine. He did it 2 seasons ago. He's gonna do it again. And
but you know what?
I think the turret change is more to prevent someone gets ahead 1 kill in lane and then they just keep on diving you with the jungle.
Early game pushing in pro play especially also looks too strong, so we're considering making turrets a little more resistant to damage early on.
I was talking about the first one.
Right.
The turret diving is a little too safe. Because, I mean, we've all been there where you see like a top laner gets behind by 1 kill. They're trying to just farm safely under turret, and then they just get either single, either just one-on-one under tower, or the jungler comes and they trade aggro, and it's not that big of a deal because they have it like one armor item or 1 HP item.
Yeah, I've noticed it in bot lane too. But the other thing that like the turrets will affect in terms of the resistances and then the death timers, I know they're targeting like the 30 to 45 minute mark, but they're probably also going to up the early game also, is it's going to make it a lot easier for your late game like snowball A champions to get back to lane, to farm. You're not going to be able to take their turrets. Like, it's going to make them easier. It's going to make it easier for them to stay in the game. And it's going to be a lot harder for those early game champions to shut them down hard enough where you're not on, as soon as it hits 30 minutes, you're done.
I'm still waiting for the hard data on what they did in 6.6 or 7, sorry, because they changed the death timers.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't look at Reddit today, so I don't know if anyone posted what the death timers were. But they did make a change.
It wasn't on Reddit, at least that I saw. There's just people bitching about the eliminators and whatnot.
I don't care about any of that shit. I mean, I do, but not enough to talk about it. Yeah, I'm curious, and I'm going to throw this out there because it was just a thought I had, and I think I already know the answer to it because it won't work. But what if they made it so like the first shot on the turret always hits you? Like if you were trying to dive, you know how like the first shot takes a while to come down and hit you, so like you can kind of dive somebody and get some pot shots off before the tower is able to hit you when you walk out of range.
Oh, so if you
I do that all the time.
Yeah, like you could walk in, the tower will go dink, and then you can walk out of it before it shoots you.
Yeah, I like that. I think that adds a little bit of play, but people aren't dying to that. That's just poke.
No, I mean that's poke, but something like that where they made the turrets either aggro more quickly or shoot a little more quickly or something
this
that
is-
like to prevent,
doesn't-
not to completely prevent the tower dive, but maybe I don't know.
But the thing is,
But that
they're timing it. You're timing it for when a turret shot is coming down onto like a minion, so it can't shoot immediately. I mean,
Right.
if you're saying that you're gonna immediately fire that shot, I guess that could happen, but that kind of removes like skilled play a little bit from it.
It does.
Yeah.
The
I
other
think with
thing
the-
about that, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The other thing about that is a lot of the times the people who are poking under tower like that are your like long range poke champions, like your Caitlyn and people like that, who are not necessarily going to be the people who are tower diving you. It's not like you're going to have an Alistar run in and auto attack you and get out in time not to be hit.
It's more of like a top lane type of thing than it would be a bottom lane. It's not something I'd want to necessarily see, but I thought I'd bring it up, kind of like an idea to get things juices pumping, and changes how we could potentially see towers being changed to not completely prevent, but to make it a little more risky to try to poke and tower dive.
Well, it sounds like that's two different things. Like you have aggressors that want to, like a Sona Caitlyn lane will want to poke you out of lane and just poke your tower down over and over again, poke you and make you leave so that they can just get the tower. And then you have a Lucian Alistar lane that wants to dive you, push you under tower, and then just dive you. It sounds like what they're not upping the turret damage; they're upping it to champions on subsequent shots. So if you take one tower shot, it's the same, but then the other one's increased by 25% more instead of, I don't know what it is, 15% more, something like that.
I actually do like the idea of turrets attacking a faster for to work against a dive, however, because it feels like aggro switching might be a little bit too powerful. Like in the example I want to say last night, happened to me. There's three people that dive behind a turret, but since they were able to drop aggro, and they played this very well, but none of them even took a hit of the turret.
What if it
It feels like that
single
shouldn't
hit?
happen. It feels like at least one of them should get hit.
right? I was
Is
just
it like a single hit?
well, yeah, you could jump in and take
What?
like one or two hits, then jump
You
out.
take one. Yeah, I feel like that.
The last
takes
person
lot
in got a
of
hit on the
skill.
way out. The first two
think
that
that-
went in did not.
Was it like a repel or like invulnerability or?
So in this situation, there was a Lee Sin, so he can hop out, obviously. But
Okay.
what you bring up is a good point, that there are a lot of champions that can also drop aggro like that.
So
I feel like
why
that-
couldn't towers change? Why couldn't the speed of which towers shoot change based on the number of champions that are around the tower?
That could. I was thinking about that
That'd
and
be a
potentially
huge
like
change,
this was weird, like you know how I guess it's the inhib turrets fire the laser.
Yeah.
I was thinking if like anyone else that technically took aggro like in range would also get hit by like a smaller one.
Oh, like a-
but
like a
that's
second
very
cannon.
different one. Yeah, a little
I don't know.
bit.
I feel like tower diving and trading aggro is a very high skill cap thing. It's very hard to do, and it should
I
be
agree.
somewhat rewarding to do.
Right, I
think
agree.
that even know that there's too much aggression, and sometimes it feels like you can be dove too easily. We all see those games where people tower dive, and then the guy that was behind gets a double kill. So I feel like just a small nudge and upping the subsequent damage is probably a much easier direction to go in, and probably will do what they want it
We're
to
probably looking at the problem that's not there. The problem more or less is how much damage the towers can take,
It's possible.
Yeah,
which
so
is fine.
I was
Well,
trying to
the-
look at this. So you end up getting like max 125% bonus damage. I think if I'm reading this right.
125%.
and that-
be.
that's
Maxed out
it's
at
like
5 hits, right?
that'd be the fifth hit I think would do that. Because it's
I'm
you
going-
get you get 37.5 for the first or the second and third shot, and then 25% for the fourth and fifth, and I think that would put you at the max. So that, I mean, that's still, you could ramp that a little bit differently and still end up with the same. Like you could go like 100 and then, sorry, that's a lot. So like 50 and then I don't know, something else. Like you could ramp that a little differently easily and play around with that and get your desired result of early diving gets punished hard.
Harder. Well,
Yep.
let's wrap that up because this is the mid-season update. We don't have any idea exactly what they're doing. Just kind of brainstorming some things and finding problems that aren't there. I do want to talk about Tank Ekko top, not necessarily just Tank Ekko, because Ekko just happens to be the product of some nerfs. Ekko coming to the top is the product of nerfs between champions and items, more so than him being overpowered in any one way or shape or form.
He did just get buffed too, right?
Yeah, he
Yes.
is
Yeah.
Q, if I remember correctly.
And
No,
it was passive.
E.
It was passive. It was
It's
passive,
eat,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, it was his
E
it
to
was
put
E
on
to
that
pass
too,
down.
right?
It was both. Both passive and E.
Well,
That's right.
Buffing a cooldown especially makes it more abusable. This current build we're about to talk about.
Right.
Yes.
So what we're going to talk about is top laners right now. If you guys haven't noticed, the meta has been shifting a little bit. People complain about the tank meta, yada yada. If you are a sheep listening to the pro players, step back and take a moment to look at it, the overall bigger picture, and kind of think, why are they talking about this? What are they saying? Because if you look at what's happened over the last few patches, we've seen a Maokai buff, which he gets MR scaling per level. We've now seen a Poppy nerf. We've seen multiple Fiora and Gangplank nerfs. And we've also seen nerfs to Tiamat. We've seen a nerf to Hydra. And we've seen a nerf to both of them when you can't switch between them. Actually, I think even Hydra or Titanic and Ravenous both had damage reductions, right? Or did Ravenous keep it?
Titanic did.
Ravenous, I think, kept it.
Okay.
Kept its damage. I think Tiamat actually got kind of switched back with a cleave, but I think the damage went down.
Yeah, right. But we've seen all these changes, right? And these little changes have left top lane kind of in an odd spot because we had Nautilus got nerfed as well too a bit ago. So
it's been a tank meta, I think, for a little bit,
Right.
but this kind of shifted it and got rid of even more of some of those carry.
It's removing those items you'd buy. Like, there's no reason to rush a Row or Righteous Glory anymore. So some of those champions we're seeing rushing those don't go up there. Now, people are looking for an easy way to spam their spells and are looking for an easy way to do damage while doing that. So you're looking at high base damage champions like Ekko and Maokai. And that's where Iceborne Gauntlet comes into play. Because Iceborne Gauntlet, the build path into it is really good for either damage or for tank, because you get CDR mana, or you get or you don't get mana anymore out that, do you? You get damage. No, you do get mana because it builds out of a mana crystal.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, it lost the AP, but it still
Right.
has the armor, mana, and cooldown reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Iceborne Gauntlet comes into play and why it's so good. I mean, Sunfire's always been good because that passively pushes the lane and protects you against auto attacks. But then now you're going to Iceborne Gauntlet because of Hydra and Blade of the Ruin King, all these other damaging items that would bring fighters in the top lane. Again, going back to we're just seeing Iceborne Gauntlet now because of that. And that's where I'm kind of leaving the discussion open at that point to how we want to steer that.
I think it's interesting to see that IBG's become really popular because, and it's especially on champions that you said can abuse the cooldowns. So they can obviously use abilities quick, get that proc off more times than not. It's champions that I think can stick to people. Akali is a great example of that. Ekko in the same sense, like they both can jump to targets, and then they get damage off of like getting multiple hits. Has been, I think, something I've seen a lot because Akali gets her Q, Ekko gets his passive, and then gets more speed to stick again to targets, and dealing like it's consistent damage that doesn't need items to scale necessarily. So they can just run in, and as long as they've not just completely shit the bed early, can run past a line and say, all right, I'm going to go stick to a target, and you're not doing anything about it.
Sheen's really good in that. It uses your base damage. Maokai, for example, has the highest base AD in the game. So
At level 1.
Yeah, at level 1, right. So he works really well with it. Anybody who scales well with that. Well, Sheen is always based, or it's always base, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? I think we did. Maokai does 185 damage extra with an Iceborne Gauntlet proc at level 18.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Akali's getting it, but
No, Kali was going Titanic.
I think also the
Sunfire.
problem is they buffed that in the offseason, didn't they? Iceborne used to only give 10% CDR, and now it gives 20.
Well, it's because Sheen didn't give CDR previously, and now it does. So the two, it now combines to make it 20, yeah. So it's a byproduct of changing how Sheen worked and taking away the AP and changing it for CDR.
I still feel like there's kind of a mini meta swap going on right now between the heavy armor tanks like Malphite and Rammus to perhaps what could become Ekko and Maokai, tanks that do AP damage. I think Mundo could be coming back too. He didn't really go anywhere, but he's been lurking. I think those would all be good picks into Rammus, who's really strong. And they're not going to have a lot of AD. Those AD opponents they've been playing against are kind of dropping by the wayside, so they
Rammus
could
isn't
go
seeing
away
as
along
much
with them.
play anymore as he previously was. I think who's got Champion GG up right now?
I mean, off that one nerf, off that.
Not even the nerf. It was
I don't think it's
previously
the nerf
before
that-
that.
The nerf is only a couple, like 1 day old or
Well,
something.
it's also items. The items are changing. He's still top. He's still the top win rate on top lane.
Top one right
Yeah.
to that.
What did that patch go
54.3%. Oh no, sorry, that's 6.6. My bad. They're still
Yeah.
aggregating
Yeah.
6.7
Yeah.
data. Apologies. But
Yeah, I'm not saying it already happened. I'm saying I think that could be in the process of happening. Because Rammus is still really strong at the moment.
I mean, yeah, Maokai didn't go up really at all. I mean, maybe a little bit, but he's still
Maokai
still
coming
at,
back
like,
is a
number
product of all the other
33.
champions being nerfed.
Oh, he's up 12 spots, but I mean, he's still below a 50% win rate, and he's only got like less than a 4% play rate.
Which is fine, though, because you have to think of the difference between competitive and solo queue, where Maokai may not work
I mean,
as well.
yeah,
Solo
everything
queue as he does in
Maokai does
competitive.
is really telegraphed. I mean, he's got a lot of awesome advantages, and he's got a really cool kit, and I personally love him. But I mean, he's very telegraphed. He's very
Well, telegraphed, but then you add him with Sivir onto it with him, and you have the run at you comp, and it doesn't matter how telegraphed it is.
This is true.
And that's why it
I
works
was
really well
referring more to
competitive play.
lane, more as to what you're doing in lane and trading in lane and stuff.
Sure. I mean, the same can be said for Malphite, and he still does fairly well out of the top lane and trades with people, because people don't expect the damage, just like they wouldn't expect the healing off of Maokai. There's a lot of little hidden things in these kits. I think I was explaining to you the attack speed Malphite type of thing that I do, where people don't expect the extra damage that you get off a W.
Yeah, the flat 8 attack speed you're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
doesn't that go back to Dom's old thing with free stats, like free stats coming back into play?
Oh yeah. Well, that's Malphite's always he gets free. You put 1 point in the W, you get 10% extra armor.
Yeah, but I mean, like, don't you get the damage too? Like, while you're doing the attack speed, is what I mean.
Right.
The-
That I was explaining to Tally the other day because he asked me why I was running attack speed on Malphite, and I said, one, it's like Maokai, it lets you last hit. You know, Maokai more for so you can weave auto attacks in, but it lets you last hit a little easier. Plus, when you're trading with somebody, you can stand in there and trade with auto attacks rather than just E and Q. And if you take W early, like top lane right now isn't just. I mean, there's some freezing to it, but there's not as much freezing as
The
previously.
attack speed. Yeah,
So the attack
will-
speed with W lets you do quite a bit of damage because you're doing all that extra 80 damage.
especially in an extended trade. I mean, I probably, when I was running Malphite top, I was going like hybrid penetration reds just because they're so stat efficient and because you're incentivized to auto attack a decent amount, but at the same time, like pen is better for like blowing up the backline in team fights, but the attack speed is probably better in lane, you're right.
Yeah.
But you're trading off laning ability versus like more like late game stats probably. Because you're not going to get a ton of auto
And
attacks.
it probably
off
just
the
depends on
team
what type of player you are and how you want to go about playing Malphite. So,
So-
I like to go even in win lane personally.
So this is kind of unrelated, but I just saw that Malphite's ult, the speed is based on his bonus move speed. Like he gets that added, and I want to see a really fast Malphite with like a stupid high move speed get added. Like it says it's 1835 dash speed plus Malphite's bonus move speed, and I really now want to see like a 2000 move speed Malphite, just like
I'm sure
like
there's a
triple-
YouTube video of it somewhere.
double or
I'm
triple
sure
the speed
there
that
is.
they normally expect. I'm gonna check that.
That actually does make sense. 'Cause I'm pretty sure there was when home guards was still a thing. I think there was a video of
Home guard
Malphite
teleport.
rushing home guards and teleport ganking bot, and you
Those
saw
do more
really
damage,
fast ult
but-
come out of that.
Yeah.
That was home guard mobility boots teleport nonsense when that first came out.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
the whole point of like the why is Tank Ekko coming around, and again, it's a product of all these nerfs and changes, and Iceborne Gauntlet being the de facto go-to for like a second item on a lot of these champions because of how stat efficient the item is. What were you talking about earlier, Punch? You were saying you want to find Sunfire Iceborne Gauntlet champions.
I wanted to find a replacement to Poppy because I've been taking full advantage of Poppy for a while now, and it seems very likely that she might rest in peace after the latest changes. So I played against this Ekko last night who did very well, who went a very similar build, and who pretty much accomplished the same thing that I was trying to do, which is just be a nuisance, being able to do lots of damage while providing lots of CC, and not die very easily. So it seems like Ekko could be the replacement for Poppy, in that he's got the mobility, he's got that stun on his W and lots of sticking power with Iceborne Gauntlet and his E, and he can not die and be very, very annoying.
And he has hidden power in his R, and the fact that he can do damage with it if you can set it up correctly. We saw it earlier today in LCK. There was a fight where an Ekko came back in and used the damage on an Alistar to continue to chunk him down after he'd gotten a triple kill.
I mean, you could also like. I feel like to a smaller extent, you can use that W to zone really well. Whereas Poppy was able to knock somebody completely out of the fight. Obviously, just completely knock them out of the fight and I think that could be used as a really good zoning tool that I hadn't thought about in the comparison to Poppy before.
Yeah, I guess that's their biggest difference is Poppy's more disengaged, whereas Ekko could be more counter-engaged with his W to punish somebody for diving in.
You can time it too. Like you have a little bit of wind up before they know that it's coming, and you still have like time to get out, but you could play that really well.
I'm trying to find. I can't really think of any that aren't already played with those items that would really need both. I mean, there's a lot.
I sent
that
out a
want
list
Sunfire.
earlier of them. I think Fizz was the only other one that was like the weird pick.
So I was focused on Sunfire second, just because I was, for some reason, I was heavily bent on going against AD. Obviously, that's not always the case. You're not going to build those two items first if it's not a heavy AD comp, or if your opponent is an AD.
Yeah, if you're up against a
just-
Vlad, you're not going to want to do that.
Right, you're probably going to get a Spirit Visage second, but I think the Iceborne Gauntlet is definitely an item that's powerful enough that I would be exploring champions that utilize that when deciding on my next top laner.
That'd probably be mostly tanks or people that you build as tanks.
Yeah, basically.
See.
Something else to bring up, just to kind of as we roll out to the end of this podcast, we are at an hour. Our hour mark is that they mentioned in the last update. By the way, I'm going back to the update that ZZ Rot Portal. They still find it to be a little too stat efficient for what it does. The stats are almost certainly too high.
I don't
Did
see
they
it
just
nearly
nerf
as
it?
often as I did.
I don't get it. I still love that item. I buy it all the time. I think the stats are amazing. Yeah, that 5 being able to take 5 hits to kill it. I mean, that
Gotta nerf
sucks.
the
You just
base
have
stats
to.
on it.
Yeah, and they brought him down by what, 10, 15?
5 armor
5
and magic
each.
resist.
That's it.
It's going to
forget
hit a
about-
point where you're going to. I don't know what
You're
the
gonna be
breaking
giving up
point
too
is,
much,
but
yeah.
but eventually at like 50 or 45, if that's what they choose to do.
If they got on to
that's gonna
45,
hit
I'll probably never
It's
buy
not
it.
that cheap either. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 50 is probably going to be where they end up. Like if they decide to keep going that route instead of working on the voidlings, which
That's
I
what it
think they
says.
don't need to.
It's a niche
Yeah, I
item
think-
being used all the time. Its stats are almost certainly too high.
I think 50 is.
Why
a
are
good,
they
is a good number.
determining that it has to be a niche item? Like, what's their
Well, I mean, it
theory
is-
Because they
on
don't want to
that?
see 3 per team in a game.
Well,
I don't know
that's
if it's.
fair
I don't
enough.
think it's there anymore though.
Yeah,
I
I
do
haven't
see where that would be a
seen
problem,
it
but I
nearly as
think-
often.
I saw 2 last night, but it was only one person. I think it was the support that got in both games.
I don't know. I don't think people are valuing what it can do to push back even super minions enough. I still think the item is I still think the item is really good. I still think it's worth a second or third item buy on like pure tanks. Mm-hmm. Again, Maokai, Malphite, Nautilus.
Ekko.
No, Ekko is Iceborne, Sunfire, maybe an AP.
Yeah, he doesn't need help
Prison.
pushing with those items. He
Right, that's
already
an Abyssal
pushes
Scepter.
great.
Yeah, Abyssal Scepter is the third item I'd build on him. Right, he doesn't need help, and they don't really need it. But I mean, not like the other tanks need it. But I think people saw that nerf and kind of freaked out by it and don't want to buy it anymore because it takes 5 hits because they were just used to dropping it and letting get free shit off it instead of using their heads on how to use the item. Because you can, 5 hits is still a lot to take something out. It's not,
I don't want to see it disappear completely.
neither do I.
That would
Yeah.
be disappointing.
It's kind of a neat item.
Cool
I think
item
it'll.
for it to disappear.
I think it'll still be there for the champions that really can use the stats. And then I don't think it's a bad item. I think there's just too many other good items that compete with it. And most of the time, you're going to want the armor or the MR. And in the situations where you want both, it's a great item. But having just, if that's your first item, then you don't have any HP to go with it. And then the stats aren't as efficient.
Yeah, and if you don't have the health
I
to
mean-
go with it either, you need some way to make up for that health through it be a shield or something.
When you, like, Pom, when you do buy it, it's usually what, third item?
No, I actually buy it second item in Malphite most games.
Malphite, what do you build first? Like Sunfire?
Sunfire.
Sunfire?
The only time I was building ZZ Rot first out of the top lane is if I was going to like a Singed or something that would just push super freaking hard. It would be really hard probably to build it against
It's a
Singed
non-interactive
now.
laner, so it kind of makes sense. You could go that.
It'd probably be honestly it'd be hard to build against a Singed now because of that 5-hit thing. Because before Singed
put it on
couldn't
the
kill
tower.
it. Yeah, but he can just walk under a tower and hit it.
I do
Speaking
like the
of, I
5
did-
hit thing because
I did
as a
leave phone
support,
hanging yesterday about the 5-hit thing. He was playing Jin and he asked for help. I'm like, you're an AD carry, you can handle it. But I forgot that it took 5 hits and Jin actually
gotta
has
reload.
relatively slow attack speed. So just
I
kind
think
of
it's
like,
at a
yeah, fuck
decent
you,
spot
Pone.
now.
Yeah. I know I have to
still
use my crit shot and reload right before a team fight. But Days, you were saying?
Oh, I was saying I really do like the 5-hit thing though, because it almost felt worse than trying to kill Scuttle as a support.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you couldn't do anything. You could not counteract that. And if your AD carry is trying to farm or something like that, and someone has a bot try, and you're just sitting there whacking at it, you might as well just leave and just leave it there because there's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, that was a good change. That was a good quality of life change for everybody.
And
Well,
I think
it's
we're
kinda
still
like
seeing it.
It's like how Banner was easily Banner countered magic damage, and ZZ Rock kind of did the same thing, but too well. Like whereas even like
the portal
Banner of
itself.
Commands minions could be killed by like physical spells, so way more champions could deal with it well. And then but ZZ Rots were only auto attacks. So if you had, I can't think of like one that had like low attack speed, but like maybe Renekton. No, Renekton's a bad example, but
Yeah, he's got
maybe,
auto
like,
reset.
but yeah, but somebody who didn't have or relied on spells to deal their damage to kill those things, like just couldn't do it. And now it's way easier. Yeah, Singe is a great example for that.
Well, I think we're going to, unless somebody else has something else to say, I don't want to cut anybody off this at the end of the podcast.
I was just gonna say, I think it's in a better spot than it was before. We're still seeing it. It's just not being seen on 3 people every game. Not
Right.
every game, but
And now that
Udyr
Udyr has been nerfed, you probably won't see it as much as you previously did either. Well, I think that pretty much ends the show as we went over the preseason update, at least or mid-season, excuse me. Mid-season update, what they plan to do. As always, we are going to be going over those as they release them. I'm going to try to poke the bear and see if they'll send me the stuff before it hits.
You can try.
Yeah. So we can have to talk about it and release it the same day, but it probably won't happen because we don't hear about Tarek or Champion reworks.
It sounds like the mid update will be a huge patch.
Oh,
So
It'd be
it'd be
difficult to
very
do it if
nice if we
it's-
got that
Well,
early.
it'll be in the PBE. We could take a look at it there.
Or
but-
if it's all at once, or it's not going to be all at once, I don't think, because that would be the difficult thing. Is if they told us, "Hey, here's all the things," and we record an episode, and then they release pieces of it, you're like, "Well, let's cut out that portion of our discussion
All
and
the-
try to throw that out."
For
All the
a-
AP item changes are all at once.
For a podcast discussion, if that happens, everyone needs to know that the week that those come out, we either need to get on and podcast early that night at like 7:00, 7:30, or we need to go like super late. Just I imagine one of those episodes you're gonna have like a 2-hour episode from us because again we're gonna try to hit everything in one episode rather than do 2, so that way you guys get it all. So there's that. We're gonna wrap up this podcast now because we are over the time limit and we've talked about everything we want to talk about tonight. That leaves us for next Monday. I'm going to try to get Sky in on either Monday or Wednesday. So if he's listening, hey buddy, I'm messaging you tomorrow about that. I'm gonna get him on. We'll talk about Tarek a little more. Days, so you guys are probably wondering, why is Days back on the show? What happened to her? Why isn't she on full time? Well, she has decided to come on whenever anybody is away, so you should expect to hear her voice a couple times a month, I'm sure.
Yeah, or whenever you want me. But
yeah, we have
You
some
can
lazy
call her.
podcasters.
You can call her on
so
Skype, and she'll talk to you.
for only $2.99 a minute.
I meant on the cast, you know.
I think you meant that.
Plus,
I need
you'll
a
hear
pay
her.
increase if I'm going to be available on demand like
Oh,
that.
God. Yeah, so do I. Shit. I already have available on demand. I need a pay increase. All right, that's it, guys. That's episode number 350 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening and supporting us as we move forward here. Guys, we will see you all on Monday with some, hopefully, Tarek discussion. If not, we'll find another topic for you guys. Have a good night.
See you guys.
Yep.
Good night.
Later.